Welcome to Illicit Liaisons, newly rebooted and now proudly hosted by Tender and Tempting Tales. We're still talking about the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction, but now we have two hosts, yours truly, Jenna Hart, and sci-fi romance author and Tender and Tempting Tales social media manager, Tara Lederman. Plus, we're including our author guests as guest hosts to join in the discussion of all things romance fiction. I hope you'll enjoy this new reboot, and now on with the show. Romance readers, welcome to Illicit Liaisons here at Tender and Tempting Tales, where each week we talk about the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction. I am Jenna Hart. I am a diehard romance reader and author, and very excited to be here to talk about romance books.
I'm Tara Lederman, social media manager here at Tender and Tempting Tales, and lore maven for Starship Valkyrie, a science fiction game and story universe. I write science fiction stories, including romance, and you can often find me in our anthologies alongside these ladies.
And here with us today, we have a very special guest, Rachel Young, who, disclosure, is my sister. And she too is an emerging romance author writing under the name Aline Francoure. She has a story, Clumsy in Love, in Tender and Tempting Tales' anthology of Moonlight and Margaritas, which I know you're going to want to check out. It's a good one. And before focusing on romance, she has written all sorts of other things, including winning awards for fiction and nonfiction through her local chapter of the Virginia Writers Club. Now, she's also one of our editors over at Tender and Tempting Tales. She'll be editing our very first short e-magazine centered romance edition of Pause and Peril, a romantic suspense that has to include a dog in it, which I'm very excited about. Now, if you happen to be an author and want to submit, we do have submission information over at Tender and Tempting Tales. We have a Substack where you can find it there, or tenderandtemptingtales.com. Pause and Peril, our due date is January 31st, 7,000 words or less, and it needs to include a little bit of spice. So just to finish up, Rachel's here. She lives in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. She has a very nice husband and two wackadoodle dogs. And she loves to spend her spare time reading and with her wackadoodle dogs, as well as her two grandchildren, who are definitely cutie patooties. So welcome, Rachel, to the show.
Thank you.
Now, I wanted to start out because, as you guys know, I love to follow bookish drama. I watch way too much YouTube, and there's just a lot of craziness in the book. Who would thought reading could lead to such craziness? And one of the things that happens at the end of the year is many readers like to share how much they read, and some of them are quite crazy in how much they read, over 100 books a year. And there was a young woman whose name right now escapes me, but she was very excited. She posted a picture of her with 2 stacks of books and was sharing how excited she was that she read 120 books in 2020, which is amazing. I mean, I suppose if there's 52 weeks a year, that's 2 books a week, I guess.
More than 2 books a week.
It's doable, but it's still impressive. I think it's impressive. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'll read a lot and then I don't read at all.
Right.
And then I read a lot. Anyway, so some people were quite supportive of this, like, yay, what a great accomplishment. But there were a lot of people that were sort of dissing on her. And in fact, there were so many views of this that I want to say it was the New York Post, I think, did a story about this post that she did and how some people thought it was really great and some people just really came down on her. And I want to read a quote, one of the quotes that was in her comments, which was, "Most fiction is slop. Reading 100 trashy fiction books is the equivalent of watching hours of reality TV. Only truly great fiction should be considered reading." Okay, so you look at her stack of books, and I don't know, maybe I'm biased or overly sensitive, but it looked to me like a lot of her books were romance, and trashy is almost always used to refer to romance. And I'm just curious, your thoughts on this.
Who defines truly great fiction?
Right? Yeah,
Who defines that? My definition might be different than yours.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
I have a hot take if you guys want it.
Okay.
Uh, one thing that I saw a lot of people talking about when they were discussing the drama was they were defending the right to post about how much you've read by saying this is just people talking about their hobby. They just want to share their hobby. They're not bragging. And I think that that is at the heart of the problem here. I think that you cannot say at the same time, she's really excited about this, but you can't be mad at her because she's not bragging. I do think she's bragging. And when someone is bragging, people can get envious. And when people are envious, they act out and they act inappropriately. And whenever you brag, you are inviting that, unfortunately. Like people just do not like feeling like they don't read enough, that there is more that they could be doing. And reading is seeing as a virtue, right? So they want to tear that person down. They want to give a reason why they haven't read as much or why this person isn't reading. Something good and therefore it shouldn't be honored. And there's a reason why they, as good fiction readers, haven't read that much. Is all reading equivalent? I mean, reading Infinite Jest does take longer than reading a romantasy novel. Is it as worthwhile? I don't know. It depends on you as a person and what you get out of what you read and why you read. If someone told me I read, 20 books of classical literature that was really difficult, and in a year, I would honor that as really difficult to do. But also reading 120 books of any kind is a lot of books, and you should honor that. And if you do find yourself being angry at someone for posting something like this, I think people should look inwardly and ask, do I feel like I should be reading more? And am I tearing this person down because I feel like I'm not doing enough? And, we all have difficult lives and we all have stuff going on, and there's good reasons why you might not be reading. If this person's not saying you aren't reading enough, they're saying, look what I did, and I feel proud of myself.
Yeah. And on social media, a lot of times you feel like you're posting to your friends, right? It's
Hmm.
that sort of parasocial thing. And
Hmm.
so whenever we achieve something, we like, oh, I did this. And your friends are like, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't think she imagined this would blow up to be what it was. But
Hmm.
of course, the other side of that is if those books were Stephen King or, Frida McFadden or, anything other than romance, would that comment have been made? Maybe, because there is that literature versus genre fiction,
Hmm.
maybe.
right.
But, I just today I posted on Facebook, one of the ladies at Smart Bitches posted, and she was talking about people were wondering why the heated rivalry was so popular now. And she was sort of making the argument that a lot of time is made around romance, which is, gosh, something that is popular that has to do with women liking romance, like what's that all about? Whereas nobody asked, why is Game of Thrones so popular? Or why is some other show that would be more male oriented? Nobody asks why that's
Yeah.
popular, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're also at this part where we have a woman who read a lot of romances, and for some reason, romance is always sort of I'm going to say ugly stepchild,
Yeah. The whipping
the
post.
redheaded stepchild of, even though it's the most read. And in fact,
Right.
a lot of those people who are like watching Bridgerton, they might poo-poo reading romance, and yet they're watching Bridgerton, right? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so it's really an interesting thing, but it's unfortunate. I like to think it's changing because so many young readers today who are reading romance are so positive and sharing their experiences of it. Whereas my generation, we didn't tell anybody. We didn't tell people we read that stuff because
Hmm.
people made fun of you, or you didn't tell people you wrote it even.
Yeah. And
Right.
entirely in agreement with you if I had posted that I had read 120 science fiction books or 120 fantasy books, no
Yeah,
one would have been a jerk to me about it. No one. Like,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
not a thing. Like, it would
Yeah.
only be for romance and romantasy, I think.
Yeah. And I do take issue
Right.
a little bit with the idea that literature, you couldn't read 120 books of literature in a year. Like the words are words, right? Like if you were to read okay, we'll go to Jane Austen. Yeah, that might slow you down a little bit just to understand how we're, the sentence are constructed, but there's plenty of so-called literature, and if we're talking about being in the main fiction section of a bookstore, that isn't like that. It's just words after word. And and in one book is the same as and in another book. It doesn't take me any longer to read it.
Well, no, I mean, I
Right.
would resist that. I do think if you're reading something older, it does take you longer. You just got to hack through it. Yeah, it's just harder. I remember I handed my sister Emma, and she took forever trying to read it, and eventually had to give up because she said it was too old-timey for her. It
Yeah.
was taking her a long time to try to grok it, and I totally get that. I mean, I did my reading year for my PhD, and it was 150 items, and they weren't all books. They were like some of them were plays, some were poems, like long poems. But it was grueling. It was really, really nasty because it was 17th and 18th century. And it was way harder than trying to
Gosh.
read like genre fiction. Some of it was just really old and that it just takes you have to read something over and over and over again before you understand it. So I get what people are saying there, but we're talking about the difference between something newer and something older as well.
And literary fiction isn't necessarily old.
No,
I mean,
it's
that
all
might
a
be
lot of it's new.
classic. That might be
Yeah.
classic, but it's not old. There's plenty of literary fiction that's modern.
Yeah, they're coming out now, and it's just as
Mhm.
easy to read
Yeah.
Yeah,
and often not nearly as entertaining.
right.
Well, it ends badly, right?
Yes.
And that's the
Those are the
worst.
worst.
Rachel read a romance once where it just ended badly over badly over
Oh,
badly.
Oh no.
I won't read anything by her ever again.
That just breaks the rules.
Yeah, it was awful.
Rachel, you've read a lot of romance. I thought you read it like in high school and stuff, but you said you started reading it later.
It was later,
I'm
yeah.
just curious, like, what was the first one you read, and like, what was the first one you read where you thought, I want to read more of this? Where you sort of like,
It was a
like,
Julie Garwood historical romance before she started writing all her modern day ones. And I want to say it was one of her westerns, but I really liked hers because it wasn't a typical romance in that the man didn't swoop in and save her. She wasn't a, oh, woe is me, damsel in distress kind of thing. She was really feisty and funny, and she sort of saved herself and was like, just stop it. I can do this to him. They ended up together, obviously. It was an HEA, but she sort of saved herself and he sort of let her. He was kind of there to help her, but he sort of let her. So that's what got me hooked on Julie Garwood. And
and
they were
then
all so funny. The heroines are just so funny.
did, did you just kind of read through her catalog after that, or
Yes, I read all her historical. I didn't so much like her modern day ones, but I read all the historical ones.
yeah, her modern day ones were like FBI agents.
Like FBI ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Terry, do you remember your first romance?
Oh God, I used to steal my mom's romance novels when I was like way too young. Like I should not have been reading. She used to also truck me around the United States because she had friends everywhere. She was a carny. We would go out to see my aunt in Colorado, which I just did, and she would put on audiobooks. I remember Jude Deveraux, the Duchess, and Remembrance, I think were some of the earliest ones I ever listened to. I really liked The Duchess. That one is forced proximity. I still like forced proximity to this day, in fact, probably because of that book. I just remember the line, we need to lock them up together like rabbits in a hutch. What stuck with me really, really hard. Yeah. I was way too young though. I was probably sub 10 at the time. My mom is not always the most appropriate of parents.
Is that, I wonder if that's what led you to study, old English literature, or
I was quite a reader. Yeah, I read
you
really,
were
really
raised
young.
on Regency period romance.
Yeah, she listened to a lot of that. I remember Outlander, we listened to a lot. I was obsessed with it. And it was the abridged one, and it had music in it. It had like a music and sound effects, and Geraldine James was doing the voice, and she just has such a lovely Oxfordian English accent. And I loved listening to that. I didn't really like the sexy bits because I was a kid, but I did love all the historical stuff, and that is 18th century. And I eventually became an 18th century scholar. So there's definitely something there.
Yeah, yeah. I thought in the abridged they took all that stuff out. Used to make me crazy. I'd be like,
The
I want
sexy bits of
the
there. Yeah.
full thing. I can't remember if my first book was The Reef or The Return of Rafe McCade, both by Nora
Oh, Rafe
Roberts.
McCade.
Yeah. And
Gotta love Rafe McCade.
I'm going to stick with Rafe McCade. And I went up to I've been to Boonesboro twice. She's got a bookstore, or her husband has a bookstore there. But you can get, all her books are in there, and a lot of them are signed. But if they're not signed, you can leave them there. You have to pay a little extra, but you leave them there and she will sign them, and then you'll get them in the mail. So I
Ooh.
do have a copy of Rafe McCade signed and a copy of a Naked in Death, J.D. Robb by her.
The Rafe McCade one, that's the one where the scene that sticks with me is where she walks into the pool hall with him and bends over,
Yeah.
and he is like his mind explodes, his whole head
Yeah.
explodes.
Yeah.
What
And they're
are you
written back in
doing?
a time where people could beat each other up. Like
Yeah.
today you might not be able to get, but he and his brothers beat each other up sometimes. And of course he was a bad boy, returned home. But yeah,
Yes.
the book, the thing that stands out in the book to me about that was when he tries to read poetry to her.
Yes.
And
They try to enter each other's world. And so
yeah.
she tries to become a bad girl and walks into this pool hall all sexy, and he tries to read poetry to her.
Yeah, it's sort of like Grease, the end of Grease, where he's wearing the Letterman's jacket and she's wearing all the leather. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of like that. It's fun. It's fun. I did enjoy that book. So a lot of times when we think about romances, I'm always curious, like what is it about it that we love? Like, is it the plot? Is it the hero? A combination? I don't know. I'm almost always, when I'm thinking about what I like about a book, usually it's the men that stand out to me. Um, I don't know. What about you guys? And do you guys have like a fictional crush or a first fictional crush?
Oh, my first fictional crush was Lucky. Tammy
Lucky,
Hoag's Lucky.
Lucky
Ooh.
Doucette. Yeah.
Lucky Doucette. Yeah, when he comes walking in, he's all bronze, shirtless, walking into the sporting goods store.
Yeah.
Mm, speaking Cajun.
Cajun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's speaking Cajun French, like that she doesn't understand. She's from there, but she doesn't understand.
Yeah, he's speaking real Cajun French. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel mentioned that to me. I read the book, and then went to read the opening online again and thought, yeah, I'll read that book again. And I don't normally read books again, but when I read it, I
Yeah.
was like, I don't remember this. So
Yeah. There's
yeah,
just something about him that you just think, oh, he's yummy.
it's a good one. And
They're down in the bayou.
that's a romantic suspense. So
Ooh.
Yeah.
what about you, Tara?
I love Eric Northman from the Sookie Stackhouse series. He's my favorite. I remember I just had like the biggest
Eric.
crush on him. He's kind of this like strange, like really dark, kind of lecherous figure. And then in book 4, he loses his memory and he's adorable. And
Yeah.
you see sort of his like base personality is kind of like a sweet little Labrador. And I think he's great. And I sort of fell in love with him after that. I really like in a romance series though, when like the main female character feels like someone who's not me though, like really feels like a person. Like Sookie really feels like a person who's not me. She's not just a vehicle. Claire is the same way in Outlander. I really like someone who's like not just a vessel like Bella Swan. It's not about it being bad or good. It's just a preference.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because there's definitely, if your heroine is, I don't like when they're supposed to be strong and sort of snarky, but they actually come off really obnoxious.
Mm,
Like they're over the
Yeah.
top.
yeah.
I don't like that very much, but I do like, strong, feisty, women who, maybe they don't know themselves yet. And obviously, especially in romance, everybody has to grow. But, there's substance there. Like Rachel said, they're not just these meek women waiting to be saved by a man.
Right.
I agree with that. I think I'm going to go with my first crush. I don't know. Could be Rafe McCade, but I'm going to go with Rourke, who has no last name.
Mm.
He's an Irish bazillionaire in the J.D. Robb series. And what I like about him is he started as a criminal, He had a really rough childhood. He can be kind of like in the mafia world, he could be lethal. Um, but from the moment he meets Eve, he's just like besotted. Like he just she loses a button in his limo. That's the only way she can interview him about this murder is to ride with him back to the airport. And she loses a button. And through the entire series, of which there's, God, 50, 60 books, he carries that button in his pocket like a talisman. Like, I love that stuff. And in every book, he reaches in and he sort of touches it, right? As a, oh, love it, love it. So I guess he would be my favorite. And of course, he's Irish, so of course he speaks Irish and or he has the lilt.
Oh,
He does sometimes speak in Irish if he's been drinking. A lot of times you know, she's like, I have no clue what you're saying because it's a Gaelic. So anyway, well, let's go to the opposite of that. Like, here's these books we love, here's these men we love. And I did sort of mention a little bit what I don't like. Do you guys have any sort of pet peeves in romance that sort of make you roll your eyes or you don't like?
I don't like the women that can't help themselves, the
Yeah,
hysterical women who, throw themselves on the ground and just can't do anything for themselves, just
yeah,
wait for someone to save them,
yeah.
that have
Weepy
no
women.
substance. Yeah, the weak women or the weak-willed women too.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
weepy and yeah, they have no sense of their own agency. Even set
Yeah.
in historical times where they have very little agency, or even maybe in mafia romance where they have very little agency. You still have a sense of like, I'm gonna own what I can, Uh,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What about
I'm
you
gonna do
two?
what I can.
so I think that there's one thing in romance that always makes me feel somewhere between cringe and really uncomfortable, and it's like I know that this is like a wish fulfillment for a lot of women, but it's when the guy is like really indulgent and is constantly buying things for the main character. It makes me really uncomfortable. Like when it's just like when he's like overindulgent, like they go to a place and he gets her every single book at a book fair or something. And even if it's something she doesn't really want, and he's like forcing it on her and she's getting uncomfortable. I feel like uncomfortable for her and with her at the same time. And I just don't like reading it. I cannot stand it. And I know that a lot of women feel like they really want a guy to take care of them in that way, but I don't know. I just feel awkward.
And my thing is a lot of times the men can do, buy the fancy jewelry or whatever, but that's not the thing that makes it all right, right? If he's
Yeah.
supposed to, that's not the grand gesture, for
Hmm.
example, right? Like it's got to be deeper than that.
Hmm.
So at least that's what I think. I have several pet peeves. Weepy women is one of them, but I'm going to go with like poor motivation for them doing something. Like if I think we hear this a lot from readers, if a simple conversation can fix it. But even when, for example, I've read books where the woman or the man, either of them are like, my last partner was, broke my heart. So I'm never going to love again, never in my entire life, ever, 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 ever. And I'm like, that's unrealistic. Like, most people in life will fall in love again, or most people have had more than one love, or, I mean, it needs to be like something really bad for someone to say,
Right.
I'm never going to love again. It just can't be, oh, they, left me or cheated on me or, whatever. So when there's like really weak motivation for people making the decisions that they're doing, and the author's sort of using it as, the driver of the plot, but you're sort of like, that's kind of dumb. Like,
Right.
you know, um, I don't like that very much. Fortunately, most of the reading I've been doing lately has been pretty good about motivation. I've been pretty happy about it. But every now and then you read one and you just think, oh my goodness. Um, Actually, there's a very popular author um, who did something in the book that I just thought was this is idiotic, and it led up to that third act breakup. And I just thought, oh my gosh. And people loved the book. People didn't see it like I did. So what do I know? Like, I just know what I like and I don't like. So anyway, well, Rachel, you are writing romance. You've taken a foray into it. You have Clumsy in Love, which
Yes.
is in Moonlight and Margaritas. So I'm really curious, like, is that the sort of romance you want to write? What's in there, which is sort of a little rom-com-y,
Yeah, it's kind of rom-commy. Um,
contemporary.
yeah, I want to write contemporary. I can't do historical. There's too much research.
Mm.
I tried, and there's a lot of research, and I just can't do that. I get bogged down in research, and I go down rabbit holes and start researching stuff that has no bearing on what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. But I tend to write. It's hard for me to write rom-commy like that because I tend to write darker.
Mhm.
Find myself writing killing off people or stalking people or people get hurt. So it's harder for me to write more rom-commy. It's easier for me if I'm writing a short story to keep it light, but I'm trying to write a longer one right now, and it's just getting darker the longer I write.
Yeah. I remember one time you saying to me, I'm trying really hard not to kill somebody.
Yes, I try really hard not to
in,
kill people.
in her book. In her book. Yeah. Well, and I asked because, yeah, a lot of the writing you've seen has seemed a lighter than the stuff I've read some of your other stuff. And then you also chose romantic suspense as the thing you wanted to,
Yeah.
um, be editor of in Pause and Peril. So I'm curious, like the dichotomy.
Yeah, because I wanted the suspense part of it because that's more of what I'd lean toward writing. So I want the suspense, more action, a little more. I still like the romantic part of it. I still like the spicy bits,
Yeah.
but I did want some action, some suspense, some mystery, some intrigue,
Yeah. I really sort of
and the
cut my
dog,
teeth. Yeah, and a dog. That's right,
and the
because
dog.
Rachel loves her peppers. I read a lot of romantic suspense in the beginning and didn't read a lot of regular romance because it just didn't feel like a lot was going on. So I liked
Mm.
the danger and the suspense sort of driving the story. Since then I've read other things and, kind of opened up my mind a little bit about that. But you started with historical that I mean, was there suspense in those that you were reading?
Yeah,
Maybe a little
in
bit.
Julie Garwood's, they usually have like there's some kind of secret or there's some kind of treasure, or there's some kind of something that's driving it. So there is a little bit of suspense going on.
Yeah, or a
Um,
bad guy, right?
yeah, there's some kind
Yeah.
of bad guy, there's some kind of secret. So
Mm.
in most of them there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something else going on. It's not just some of them it's like a forced proximity thing, but they're still, the king wants her to wed someone, so she's fleeing that, or there's some secret that she's trying to protect so she doesn't have to get married to the bad guy, or something going on, but it's all
Yeah. Now, what is your very favorite romantic suspense?
it would probably be one of the ones in Tammy Hogue. I do like Tammy Hogue's lines.
Yeah. Oh, she's gritty and dark too. So I could see where,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's gritty and dark. I do
I
like
mean,
her.
now she just writes gritty and dark. She doesn't even bother with the romance part.
She doesn't bother with the romance anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Not at all.
So, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Tara? What do you enjoy? Do you lean toward a certain genre or I mean, I know you're really into like sci-fi and stuff, but you're sort of having to lead the way in sci-fi romance. We don't have a lot of that. So,
No, a lot of it's really erotica too. I was looking for something to read, and I was on the page. I think it was on Book Funnel, and I was looking at a bunch of books, and it was all very obviously erotica. And I know that there's stuff out there, but yeah, you have to kind of wade through a lot of stuff that's really, like an alien will invade her space. It's like, whoa, guys. Very, like Five Chili Peppers or up kind of stuff without really being in my mind like really sci-fi. It's just sort of using the setting. I always say that like different writers have different sort of like speeds, like from cozy all the way to like thriller. And Rachel seems to me like her brain when she's writing is naturally in the sort of suspense thriller space, like wants to blow something up. I'm exactly the same way, like I can't go too many pages without wanting to like throw a brick through a window or blow something up with a terrorist or like have a
yeah,
Right.
ice spider attack or a pulse cannon go off or
Yeah.
something, like
yeah,
I want there to be danger. And that's how I feel when I'm reading too. I have a
yeah.
friend of mine who's Marissa, who's in one of our anthologies. She always goes to cozy, and I'm always reading her stuff, and I'm like, can't we blow something up? Just once. And she's like,
Yeah.
no, it's cozy. It's like, well, just one explosion. Work with me here.
Yeah. But there are readers out there
Yeah.
that really too much angst is difficult for them to sort of tolerate. It's one of the
Yeah,
good
I think
things
we're in a
about
cozy
romance
moment.
is there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah. We're in a cozy moment. There's a lot of cozy stuff out there. Your apple cider inn and your baby dragon cafe. And I like look at the back of those and I'm like, snore. But I totally understand why people like them. It's a stressful time period. You want
Yeah.
to read something cozy.
Yeah. Like I said, I started really heavy in romantic suspense and I read rom-com. My bookshelves are pretty diverse right now, which is kind of cool. But I
Yeah.
have a really hard time sitting and looking at and deciding what I want to read next a lot of times.
Mm.
I do have a romantic suspense that once I finish the Bridgerton book, the epilogue, I just have the epilogue left to read. I'll be switching to that. And the Bridgerton historical, that has some spicy bits. And it even has some, in this particular one, some uncomfortable bits around three men wanting to take advantage of a servant type of thing. So it does sometimes have some heavy elements, but generally I would say those are pretty light. But yeah, I kind of like the diversity of them. As long as there's just a little bit of spice and it ends well. I've picked
Yeah.
up a book that ends on a cliffhanger, and I
Don't
do
like
not like
those.
that. I do not like that. I don't want to invest in, and it's a long one. It's like 400 pages or 500 pages and doesn't end. Like what? Like at least we
Right.
win the battle, even though the war's still going on, type of thing, right?
Mhm.
There is lots of adaptations that or have come or are coming. And of course, one of them is Outlander, which is coming in March. Well, March 6th in the US, March 7th in the UK on Stars. I think it's 10 eps and it covers two books.
I don't know
And
how they're
that
gonna do that.
shocks me because each book is like this. It
I've
seems
got some.
like
Yeah, they're
each book
huge.
should be two seasons. So I don't know how they're doing that. And of course, I think I made it through book four. And
Yeah, you made it to Drums of Autumn from your
yeah.
description. Yeah.
And I would like Rachel to read them because she loves Scotland. I think she'd like it, but she doesn't like time travel.
You haven't
So
read them? Oh, Rachel, they're really good.
she doesn't like
No,
time travel.
They're
So
so good.
that's a big no
I
for
do
her.
not like time travel.
We have
Mm-mm.
Bridgerton coming.
Hmm.
Netflix. The first drop is January 29th, which I'm assuming is going to be four eps, and then the second is February 26th. Why do they do that? Like, why do they do that? Drop them all or give them once a week. I don't, like,
Yeah, once a
it
week
makes
would
me
be good.
crazy. I am looking forward to this. Are you guys gonna watch? You gonna watch?
Yes.
Did
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys
watching
watch the
season three.
first? Yeah, yeah. I'm actually really excited. I was very excited for the last one. I had a little bit of disappointment in it. And I'm a little bit worried they're going to try and put too much in it
Mm.
this time. So I guess we'll see. We'll see. The People You Meet on Vacation, Emily Henry's book is already out on Netflix. For those of you who like Emily Henry, I actually haven't read this book, but I hear the show or the movie is good. Then you guys watched it? I think Mom watched it. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay,
Mom
Heated, right?
watched it?
Yes, Mom watched it and she enjoyed it. Yeah,
Hmm.
for what it was, she thought it was.
I thought your mom didn't like romance.
She doesn't like to read it.
Oh, that's right. She likes to watch
Yeah.
it. That's so weird. I
She'll
love
watch
that.
it though. She watches Bridgerton. She watched Red, White, and
So funny.
Blue. Yeah, which is a book I enjoy. Anyway, Heated Rivalry, which is also a Canadian author, Rachel Reed. These are her books. There's a whole series of them. I think the series is called Game Changer, but the first book is also called Game Changer, and the second book is Heated Rivalry. This is a gay hockey romance. And I've only watched the first episode, but it looks like it is Heated Rivalry, the second book. But then when I was sort of poking about, it looks like maybe they're going to have also the romance from the characters from the first book in there, which is a hockey player and I think he's a barista. And then in this one, Heated Rivalry, one is a Canadian hockey player and one is a Russian hockey player playing for a US team. Anyway, so hockey romance is very big. Uh,
Hmm.
Okay, so Royally Screwed is coming to Passion Flix. I may be the only one who knows this book. It's by Emma Chase. She has a series, the Royal series. I've only read the first four of them. That drops February 12th. And I really like them that it's a prince. And the second book is The Spare Heir, who ends up in a reality show that's like The Bachelor, only it's like How to Marry a Prince or something. So that's pretty fun. And then the fourth book in the series actually tells the story of their grandmother, Queen Lenora, which I really enjoyed, but it's bittersweet because this is why I hate when people do prequels, because I know where we're going. So I kind of know what, by the time her grandson's books come up, she's widowed. Her son is dead. She's raising her princely grandchildren. Anyway, they were fun. Passion Flix also does the Black Dagger Brotherhood. First season came out, Wrath's story last year. I believe season 2 will come out sometime in the summer, which is telling Rage's story, which should be
Ooh,
fun.
Rage.
He turns into the beast. He does turn into the beast in the first season too. So anyways, the quality isn't quite up like Netflix and stuff, but if you like those books, I thought they were fun. I liked watching them. We did talk about Outlander season 8 coming in March. And I think that's all I have right now for adaptations. Do you guys have a book that you would like to see adapted into a TV show or movie? Or I do. I got two.
Start. Give us time to think.
Okay. Well, let me tell you mine. For the longest time, I've really wanted a quality stream, like Netflix or, because HBO did True Blood. So back then that was it. So it was HBO, but now we have Netflix or Amazon Prime or, any of those that are doing real quality streaming. I would love for them to pick up the JD Robb in Death books. I would love to see Evan Rourke come to life on the page. I think they're perfect, based on what we've seen in terms of, doing Outlander, or doing Game of Thrones. I would love that. The adaptations of Nora Roberts' books as of yet have not been great.
Mm.
So it's got to be good, like it can't be.
Right.
The only adaptation so far that I thought was okay was The Midnight Bayou, which has a really crazy twist in it. And it was okay. The other one I think would be really fun. And Rachel, I think I mentioned this. Janet Ivanovich has a series of books called Fox and O'Hare, which she started writing with Lee Goldberg. And Lee Goldberg, we saw him at a conference one time, and he writes for TV or has written for TV. So I remember asking him, like, why are Fox and O'Hare not a show? O'Hare is an female FBI agent, and Fox is a thief, like Thomas Crown type level, right? She finally nabs him, and then the FBI decides, we could use his skill. In every book, they're pulling a long con, and it's Janet Ivanovich, so there's all these wackadoodle, crazy characters,
Right.
And I just think and stuff explodes. Janet Ivanovich doesn't write anything where there isn't an explosion somewhere in the book. Anyways, I would love to see that. I just think it would be so fun. All right, now you guys had time to think. What do you think?
Go ahead, Rachel.
What was that book where he finds that he's shipwrecked or something on the marijuana?
Oh, that's Carl Hyacin, Skinny Dip.
Skinny Dip.
That would be fun too.
That would be a good
Yeah,
movie.
her husband tosses her off a cruise ship thinking she'll drown.
Yes.
But she used to be I don't know if she was an Olympic swimmer, but she was a swimmer.
She was a swimmer, and she's saved by hanging on to a bale of marijuana.
A bale of pot is floating in the ocean, and she thinks it's a shark at first, remember?
Yeah.
She grabs onto it. And she gets rescued, and that bale of pot shows up in Miami or someplace, and like her fingernails are in it.
Right.
You've never read Carl Hyacin. He's so funny.
It was funny. Just the little steps that lead back to everybody.
But they
sounds
turned
fun.
Bad Monkey into a TV show, so why not Skinny Dip? Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
That would be a good one.
I would like to watch that. So, all right. Well, we got to get ready to close this out, but I want to know from each of you, like, what are you reading now? Or like, what would you recommend? Like if you were to recommend one book, oh my God, that would be too hard.
Oh God, what am I reading? Right now I'm reading Fat Tuesday, which you recommended.
Ooh, yeah.
I was reading
Sandy
that on the
Brown.
plane. Yeah, that was fun. In between writing, I was reading Fat Tuesday. But recently, I read Ernest Semper's Pearl Crucible, which is, Parrish's first novel put out, and it's really, really good. I actually would highly recommend it. It's science fiction romance, but it's not in your face starships or anything like I do. It almost feels like fantasy at times, or like historical fiction, like alternative historical, and it's sort of in its genre of its own. I would definitely recommend people pick it up.
Yeah. And we'll have links to all these books if you want to check any of them out for you so that you can go. Yeah, Erna has written for the anthologies as well. Moonlight Margaritas and here we go. Midnight Mischief and Mistletoe.
Perfect.
So
Ding,
many
ding, ding.
M's. So many M's.
I actually have I have Erna's Fireworks and Flirtation submission in my email right now to go look at
Ooh,
beta reading. So
ooh,
Ooh.
yeah. Rachel, what do you have a recommendation or something you're reading now or
I'm not really reading anything right now other than submissions. I would recommend, if it was a Julie Garwood book, I would recommend The Lion's Lady. The heroine was raised by Native Americans back in the 18th century and then ends up in the court in England. And the Marquis of Lionwood finds her holding one of the other ladies up against the library with a knife to her throat because she said something to her and she doesn't quite understand the etiquette of England yet. It's just a funny book.
well, I'm getting ready as soon as I finish the last chapter of the Bridgerton, which is, what is it? An offer from a gentleman. I'm going to go ahead and read Chasing Shelter by Catherine Cowles. This isn't the first book in the series, but I don't know. Out of them, this is the one I picked up. And so far, it's pretty good. It's set in a small town up in Oregon. And I guess one of the earlier books, I think, is her brother, because she's moving here to be closer to her brother. And so I think I'll probably read that next since we're on a romantic suspense kick. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today
Thank you for
and
having
for
me.
participating in Tender and Tempting Tales and everything you do. It's great. I really appreciate it. And of course, I appreciate Tara too. Tara, maybe you can tell people where they need to go
Oh yeah.
for all our stuff.
Well, so this week we, as of really like a couple of weeks ago, Jenna had put out an article about romantic suspense. So if you're intrigued about what we've been talking about here or the zine that's coming out, you can read all about romantic suspense, and that's on our Substack. That's Tender and Tempting Tales Substack. We'll have it in the doobly-doo below. You can also follow us on Instagram. We are Tender Tempting Tales there, and you can also follow us on Facebook. We've got a couple of groups there. We have one for authors; those are people who have already gotten into our anthologies, and we have a readers group for people who are reading our anthologies. And of course, you can find us on Amazon, including Kindle and Kindle Unlimited, and you can read our anthologies there, including our upcoming zine, Pause and Peril.
Yep, yep. And
Yay.
let me also just toss this out. We do have a little free story. If people wanted to grab a little free story, they could do that at tenderandtemptingtales.com.
Yes.
If they just want to see a sample. And then you'll be
Yep.
subscribed to our list as well. So we'll let you know when we got new stuff coming. So
Jenna is downplaying it because she wrote it. This is It's About Damn Time by Jenna Hart. It is set in Skullhaven Bay, one of my favorite of her settings. And it is it's got some rom-com in it. It's got Second Chance, Friends to Lovers. You want to go read it? Go. Get it.
and pirates.
That's right.
And pirates.
And fireworks.
And yeah, well, yeah.
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 And of course, last but not least, if you are a writer and you write romance of any category, really, we haven't had any dark romances yet, but I don't know if we would say no to it. If you are interested, we do have two anthology calls going right now. That's Fireworks and Flirtation, our big anthology, and Pause and Peril, which Rachel here is the editor of. Those are due January 31st. Get them in.
Yeah. But if you do go to our Substack or the website, you'll see that we'll be opening for submissions again in May.
Yes.
And a couple other times throughout the year, so you can see what we'll be looking for at that point. So, gosh, thank you guys so much. Until
Thank you,
next
Jenna.
time,
Thanks for hosting, Jenna. Bye. Thanks for being here,
love and
Rachel.
happily ever after.